say this just from my own personal opinion. Like, I look at the two people on Instagram, you and Andrew Tate. What was it like meeting Andrew Tate?
I only met him once, and he was actually like, honestly, he was exactly how I expected him to be. Very sharp, polite, nice, like, well spoken, very respectful, and that's how I actually thought he was going to be. A lot of people would see him and expect him to be like a very different way, but like I've just met enough celebrities and seen enough like online persona or whatever, and I've seen a lot of his interviews. Like I saw his first Piers Morgan. And I saw his second one, and I like, and I talked to him after the first one. I was like, I'd just be a lot more combative if I were you. This guy's being an asshole. He's clearly trying to like get in a gotcha moment, and he's like not being your friend, and you're, being too polite to this guy. Like, call him out. He's virtue signaling. Tell him he's virtue signaling, because that's exactly what he's doing. Douchebag. Yep. Because he was. So it's like, if the guy's acting like a jackass, tell him he's acting like a jackass. And the second time, I felt like it was night and day better, because he was just like a lot more certain. And he went in there like a little bit more prepared, and like Pierce was trying to do that. He's going to try and like, sabotage. He's got his whole team looking at everything he's done for the last 10 years. And I would have said that to him. I'd be like, listen, it's real easy for you to sit here on your TV show that you're editing and try and like, point out all the mistakes that I've made for the past 10 years. I guarantee you haven't been so perfect. Like, I trust the guys that lead with their worst. That's what I do. I lead with my worst shit. I don't try and convince you that I'm a great guy. Like, I may do good shit, but I'm not bragging about it. I worry about the guys that are bragging about all the good shit that hide all the bad shit, because those are the scumbags. Yeah. Those are the guys you got to watch out for. Like, I guarantee Pierce got a closet. Skeleton. Yep. I promise you. Oh, my God. Not me. I'm not worried about shit. I told you, ask me whatever you want in this interview, and I tell that to everybody. Yeah. There's no questions that are off limits. There's no subject I'm worried about. I don't have to prepare. Like, I don't care, because I'm just going to tell you answer. I don't have to think about it, because it is what it is. Like, it's like, we don't have to remember lies. We don't have to come up with some crafty answer. It's just like, okay, like I haven't been perfect. I'm not trying to say that I was, and I don't think anybody is. Yeah. So the more that
it's funny how much honesty pisses people off, bro. Just saying the truth really pisses people off so much. And, the Bilzerians got a point, bro, is that when you go on to some of these, networks or shows, right, they do virtue signal a lot, and they're essentially just trying to attack you with all these questions, and they're trying to paint this frame that the left side has set up. And they essentially just take what the left side has set up, and they just copy and paste it during the interview, and they just hit you with those same exact questions. But, right? And you can see Piers Morgan in his interview. He's so, like, he observes and understands the truth, but he needs to challenge it to the fact where he's just to the point where he's just constantly virtue signaling, where he's trying to look like, oh yeah, look at me, I'm telling Andrew Tate this and that, all the things that you feminists want me to sit here and say, I'm saying, and I'm pushing back on. But in reality, when it comes to reality, he doesn't agree with the feminist agenda at all, but he keeps repeating their talking points. So and you'll see that a lot. You'll see that a lot, bro. You'll see that a lot. When you see a lot of guys that are like not in shape, that are older and have a network show, bro, like Piers Morgan, he's going to be a lot more blue pill. He's going to have a lot more blue pill talking points. That's just a fact.
You just come own your mistakes and the shitty things about you, the more I'm going to trust you.
Yeah, the Piers Morgan interview, we actually went to London with Andrew when he did it. And I remember after he was like, I don't know how that interview went and everything. And, and then it came out and I looked at it and it pissed me off a little bit, because I could see he had an agenda. He kept cutting Andrew off. I was like, this is fucking bullshit. But the YouTube comments never lie, man. Yeah. And they roasted Piers Morgan for that. And I think Andrew, when it ended up coming out and you can actually watch the full interview, everything, Piers Morgan, I think, actually made himself look really bad, which is why on the second interview, he toned it back, was a lot more respectful, let him finish the sentences, etc. So, the people aren't stupid. They always see the jump cuts, they see the edits, and they see...
And Piers Morgan ended up saying, I think Andrew Tate is a great... Piers Morgan ended up saying that Andrew Tate is basically a great motivator for young men, that men should listen to what he has to say. For the most part, right? Because 80% of the things he says is actually right and truth, and it comes from a good place with good intentions. That's what Piers Morgan ended up saying after he got beaten by Andrew Tate live on a chess game that they had together. That was also fun as hell to watch.
to push an agenda or virtue signal. So thankfully.
I also think Andrew stood up for himself the second time more.
Yeah.
Bullies respond better to that.
Yeah.
You know, a bully gets more and more empowered every time you kind of like dance around something and they feel like they can get you, or, you know, they can just keep cutting you off. You know, that's what Piers has, like bully, you know, mentality. It's like, okay, we're going to raise our voice. We're going to cut somebody off. We're going to stand on this, you know, virtue signaling, you know, hill that we have. It's like, you know, he just does all this shit, right? And so I think he's not going to respect somebody.
And look, why do they do this? Why, like, you have to think about these debating tactics, right? Just remember a woman, when she tries to debate you, she's going to try to shame you, she's going to try to insult you, and then she's going to try to make you feel guilty. And you see a lot of these things reoccurring in the Piers Morgan interview, right? You'll see a lot of these debate tactics. Be weary when you're having a debate, you're having a conversation, and somebody's trying to shame, insult you, and make you feel guilty, all right? Especially when you know you have good intentions. Don't sit here and backtrack or stumble or stutter, and don't be reactive either, but be humble and responsive. Just be patient. Be patient and then be responsive as to exactly what you mean. That way it cannot be misinterpreted. And that's why the YouTube comments reflected that reality.
You know, it's like he's like a stripper to me. You know, strippers don't have respect for themselves. So when somebody treats a stripper really good, that stripper loses respect for that.
Facts.
Yeah. You know, so like, but when you call them out and tell them they're a piece of shit, and they think they're a piece of shit deep down, they'll actually respect you more. And that's why strippers always end up with fucking guys that treat them like shit, because they don't feel like they're that great. So when a guy treats them how they feel like they should be treated, then they respond better. It's kind of bad for the strippers because you know, it's like kind of a fucking like, you know, recipe for unhappiness.
Thank you. Someone else said it. I've always said it. When you treat strippers well, they treat you like crap because they're not used to guys treating them well, because quite frankly, they know their POSs most of the time.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I mean, that's the thing is,